and I've got bite rate here. So, and another Skype message from my girlfriend.
Which is, you're just gonna ignore that message.
I can't
ignore it.
I can't ignore Skype.
You can.
No, what does it say? Wait a minute. You dirty bastard. I found pubes in... Oh, okay, never mind that. Welcome down to the abyssal lair of the radiophonic sea creatures. Invite your girlfriend to investigate the gleaming treasure hidden in my secret city of Panslantis, because I, Tokyo Choo Choo, am going to be your host today. And with me, as always, are two men whose treasures are no longer gleaming, but most definitely sunken. It's Human Metal and Brack. So, hey, Human Metal, how are you this week?
Sunken to the depths of the depressing sea. I'm kind of fine because it's almost vacation time for me. Yay!
Kind of fine.
Yeah, me too.
He's not actually fine. He's kind of fine.
Kind of fine. No, vacation time almost, and I'm really anxious for it because I've got so much stuff to catch up on, and I've barely got anything to talk about this week. The only thing I quickly would like to mention is that right now, the Little Sis event of Awesome Games Done Quick is running, which is named appropriately Several Games Done Quick. Speedruns for a good cause. This time it's Doctors Without Borders, and we all know doctors shouldn't have any borders. It looks stupid on them. And, there've been some amazing runs again, so if you're into that stuff, the Mega Man X2 race was fun. Apparently the Shovel Knight run was really good, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. So yeah, lots of old games, new games, with funny, interesting, glitches and with lots of skill involved. So if you like that, check out Games Done Quick. It's going to be over by this time this episode is released, but you can, watch the stuff on YouTube or the Twitch channel. So there you go. Who's next?
You definitely don't want a doctor with borders, because if the doctors do have borders, then they've most likely been in prison in the 20s with like
Probably.
a ball and chain breaking rocks.
Hey, mate, there's always time to turn your life around. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, but
it would just be a very old doctor at this point. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and who knows, in his senile state, maybe one day he's going to be like, you know what, I missed prison life. And then, you'll be lying there and you'll be operating and suddenly he'll just shiv you. For no good reason, he'll just shiv you. And steal your smokes. So, how about you, Brack? How are you?
I'm good. I don't have anything to promote. Sorry. I've just been watching a lot of movies. Like a lot. I watched a lot of movies. I'm not going to talk about all of them this week, but there are a couple I want to mention. Yeah. And the main one is the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, or the newest that came out last year, Inherent Vice.
I know a lot about
Sometimes,
that.
You know about that?
Yeah, Inherent Vice. I'm full of Inherent Vice.
Sometimes you watch a movie and you're watching it and you see the people talking. You understand the words coming out of their mouth. But for some reason, you have no fucking clue what's going on during the entire movie. And that was happening during this movie. I really had no clue what was going on. And I like the performances. I like the visual style. It looks amazing. And the soundtrack is great. And some scenes on their own are really, really funny. Like, Josh Brolin is in here. And Josh Brolin is hilarious in this movie for like, he's like a straight guy. He's like a detective who wants to be an actor. And every scene he's in, he's eating like chocolate frozen bananas, and it looks like really sexual the way he's eating them. And there's like nobody mentions it, but it looks hilarious every single time. And like for some reason he goes to like a Japanese restaurant to eat pancakes. And he talks Japanese to the guy behind the counter who's talking English to him back. It's really weird.
Super weeb.
But it's a detective movie about the Doc. That's the main character, played by Joaquin Phoenix. And he has to investigate the disappearance of like his former girlfriend, her new boyfriend. And he's like investigating that. But I have no idea how he found him and how it actually happened, because all of a sudden he was just talking in one scene and the next scene he's there. It's like, what happened in between? I have no clue what's going on. But the movie at some points is hilarious. There's like this one scene where he is going investigating, looking for the guy, and he goes to a massage parlor, and the girl behind the counter in the massage parlor is the entire time talking about the new special they have at the massage parlor. It's called the Pussy Eating Special, and she's talking like she mentions that like at least 10 times, and like it's ridiculous, I know. And then he walks like around the corner, and he gets like hit in the head with a baseball bat, and then the next scene, he wakes up next to a dead guy with like 50 police guys surrounding him. And he doesn't get thrown in prison for some reason, because it doesn't make much sense to me. But some people really love the movie, so I actually kind of want to rewatch it, because I've still like scenes of that movie are ingrained in my memory now. So I'm really interested in watching it again. Maybe I understand more of it, but I can still recommend it.
That's like Paul Thomas Anderson all over, like, isn't it? Like, you have to watch his films like a couple times to really get them. I mean, I remember watching Punch Drunk Love for the first time and like not really getting what that film was about. Like, what is this? And then like I watched it like a couple more times and then ended up loving that film. The same with There Will Be Blood. The first time you see them, like, you know, it's difficult to know what exactly to make of them, but like when you watch them on repeat screenings, those films tend to get funnier and funnier and funnier until at some point they become hilarious.
I understood the plot of There Will Be Blood. Like, it all made sense to me, but not in this movie. But I actually wouldn't want to watch it again. I heard that the people that like it, they're actually always talking about how you shouldn't watch it for the plot at all. Like, it actually, the plot doesn't really make that much sense, and you shouldn't like try to understand it. And it feels a bit like The Big Lebowski if it's told by like a heavy drug user.
That sounds awesome.
So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you,
but that's already is The Big Lebowski.
No, but The Big Lebowski, the main character is a heavy drug user, but I never have the feeling that I'm watching it through the eyes of a heavy drug user. And here it feels like the main character is a drug user, but you're also watching the story unfold through the eyes of a drug user who is not really fully understanding what's actually going on, and like skipping certain story beats and just like lingering on some stuff that seems like it shouldn't be important, but just linger on it for some reason. Like, that's the way it feels like the story is being told.
Oh man, that sounds awesome actually. I gotta see that. That sounds like my cup of tea. I love movies like that.
Okay, and then you should. And the other movie I watched is Ex Machina, which is a really great movie about like AI, and it's about like this main character who is a low-level coder, and he wins the prize to hang out with the big boss in his beautiful estate. And when he gets there, it's actually he's not there to hang out with him. He's there to test the new android that the boss character's made, and it's like it feels like it's an AI. It's created by Google. The company that in the movie is actually like, oh, it's the biggest search engine company in the world. Yeah. They don't call it Google, but it's actually Google. And he's there to test the AI, and it's a really interesting movie. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really interesting, and it's really fun that there are a lot of movies recently have been about AI in some way or another. Like we had Chappie, and even like the Avengers 2 is a lot about like the main bad guy is an artificial intelligence. So it's kind of interesting that in this culture these days, AI is a really big part of it. And yeah, that's the few movies I've been watching over the last few weeks.
Definitely want to see not Deus Ex Machina, Ex Machina, because from the 3 AI movies you mentioned, this sounds like the most fun.
Yeah, this is the good one.
I've seen Age of Ultron, so
this is the good one. I didn't even mention like the even worse Johnny Depp AI movie that came out. Like,
there was that Transcendence.
Ex Machina like got so great reviews, and what's it called? The guy who wrote it and directed it, actually his first time directing, Alex Garland is a favorite of mine. Like, I think he wrote and he wrote some really, really great films and did some really great work with Danny Boyle in specifically like 28 Days Later and Sunshine. Like those
I really like Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine was an amazing, really underrated science fiction film. So I actually Ex Machina is like one of my the best, like one of the films I am most looking forward to watching. There you go. Finally got it out of my mouth. That's what she said. It was a big one. That's what she said. So I'm really looking forward to that myself. So there you go. I've got some things to talk about. So basically Batman heavy this week. So I got a copy of Arkham Knight.
Batman is pretty heavy though.
Yeah.
You know, with all that muscle on him.
And the armor.
And that armor. Yeah, he's a pretty heavy guy.
Yeah. Well, in the Dark Knight Returns, he's really
yeah.
So I guess that's a good segue. So yeah, like I say, I bought Batman Arkham Knight to play in my summer vacation, which is coming soon. But I couldn't resist starting Batman Arkham Knight before summer vacation, so I started that. I'll get onto that in a minute. But to get into to kind of get into the Batman mood and kind of soak myself into Batman culture, I decided to watch or rewatch Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the animated movie. So, which is fucking awesome. Like, yeah, seriously. I think it's arguably even better than the Christopher Nolan films, The Dark Knight Returns. So I'm specifically going to talk about the first part because I didn't watch the second part, which I think is a little bit weaker than the first part, even though it sees Batman fight Superman. It's got some pacing issues, and we'll talk about part 2 when I watch part 2, like next time. But let's talk about part 1. So, part 1, Batman ends up coming back out of retirement and fighting the group called the Mutants. Part 1 of The Dark Knight Returns is fucking fantastic. I think it's a perfectly paced, extremely well-made movie. And I love the fact that it's kind of got this, it's kind of almost cliche to say, this kind of dark, gritty feeling to it, like it feels like it doesn't pull any punches. So, but I think DC has been making these animated movies a lot recently, which quite frankly, I haven't seen a lot of them. And, I hear Brack and Human Metal talking about them. Apparently, a lot of them are quite gritty, but I haven't seen them. So The Dark Knight Returns is still a shock to me because, like Human Metal and Brack, I used to watch the old Batman cartoon on and that was quite a bit different. That wasn't as nearly as gritty and dark as the Dark Knight Returns, and because the Dark Knight Returns is actually more violent than the Christopher Nolan films even.
There's definitely like a scene, I think the first time that the Batman returns to being like Batman after being his time off, where he totally just cripples a guy.
Yeah.
It's not like they added anything in terms of violence to that movie. It's just they lifted it directly from the pages of the Dark Knight Returns comics by Frank Miller. Yes. And it's a really good adaptation of that. Only the movie is even superior to the comic in regards that it cuts out a lot of the weird monologue that is in there. And it also, the artwork and the character design is so much improved in that movie because that might be a personal thing, but I really didn't like the art style of the comic book. And they take the basic outlines and the basic design from it, but they, give it this kind of more streamlined, sometimes an anime-ish look. For this movie, it doesn't look like a scribble, which it sometimes does in the comic. It doesn't look like it's just thrown on the page. I didn't like the weird designs and parts of that comic book. So I really, really enjoyed the things they added to this movie and the way they adapted the storyline from the original. So good stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested to know. I'll talk about like part 2 probably on the next episode. But what did you guys think about like the difference between part 1 and part 2? Which part did you specifically prefer?
That's a problem. I don't remember where they made the cut. If you need to give me a heads up where part 1 ended. Does it end between the fight between Batman and the Joker? No.
No, the Batman Joker stuff is all in the second one. The part 1 ends after he's defeated the mutant leader and
then I definitely enjoyed the second part more. Just because of Batman and Joker facing out. It's just what Michael Emerson, the guy who people might remember from Lost or Person of Interest, who plays the Joker in this does with the character. It's just really good stuff, and the way they adapted their fight and everything. And then, of course, Batman versus Superman in the end. I think might have a bit of pacing issues, but overall I really enjoyed the second part more than the first one. But don't get me wrong, I love the first one also. It's a very strong intro. The first time you hear that soundtrack and you see that scene with the police car, and then when Batman is introduced, he's genuinely scary in the part of this movie. Like, people are scared of this guy, and for good reason. He's like a force of nature in this, and he comes out of nowhere and just pulls you through a fucking wall, and it's great stuff. Like, I really liked the animation, and the score is great.
Did the second one, did it really start really stupid? I don't remember it correctly, but didn't it start with a giant woman with swastikas on her boobs? And Batman as an old woman?
Yeah, that's right.
That was kind of silly, but it's still very entertaining. That's very Frank Miller, though.
Yeah.
Like, he puts a lot of Nazi symbolisms in his work for some reason, for like the bad guy characters. Sin City has that as well. I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind it.
Because Nazis are bad?
That's bad. It's like, why do you give your, like, villains in, like, a Batman comic Nazi symbolisms? I don't really understand the reasoning for it. Like,
because Nazis are bad.
Yeah.
And but I think he thinks it looks cool. I think really that's one of the main reason behind it, that it looks cool. Batman beating up Nazis, that's like a cool idea. Frank Miller is also the guy who went totally crazy later on. Actually,
yeah.
No. Oh, this is kind of racist crazy.
Racist, all women are whores. That kind of crazy.
Oh my goodness. Mel Gibson
But
stuff.
I actually I really like Frank Miller's over-the-top tough guy dialogue. And actually, it works really well for Batman. And especially like the speech he gives to Superman when he beats him. Like, I want you to know I'm the one man who beat you. Like, it works really well in Dark Knight Returns. I think that's where it works the best. Dark Knight Returns is also very iconic because this is like the kind of the introduction of the dark and gritty Batman. Before this, Batman was a lot more like you remember it from the animated series. Like, even in the comics, it's way more happy and like just fun detective comic. And this is where it got really fucked up and crazy. And it's also went into like the mainstream image of Batman became more fucked up and crazy after the Dark Knight Returns.
You read Dark Knight Returns informed like a huge shift in character for Batman, because before that most people knew Batman by the 66 TV show and this more goofy Super Friends version of Batman, and Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One turned all of this around.
Before this was like the anti-shark repellent Batman.
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad Frank Miller exists and made this happen, because even though, some of his later works are like, wow, really, really bad, but I'm glad Dark Knight Returns exists. And if only for this movie to exist, because that's a very enjoyable two-part movie. Just as Chuchu will find out.
Yeah, well, I've seen part two already. I own them both. But I'm looking forward to rewatching that second one too. But like Brack was saying, just give credence to Brack's hard man dialogue. I think my favorite line from part one, which impressed me and made me giggle a little bit, was Batman saying to the mutant leader, "Son, you just don't get it. This isn't a mud hole. This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon."
I'm the surgeon.
Oh, I just love that line.
It's great.
It's so over the top, but it just works so well.
Yeah, and then he breaks like two of his limbs. Oh, it's amazing.
That's the Batman. That's Frank Miller's Batman.
But
he's also the guy who made that infamous line. It was in All Star Batman Robin, I think.
I'm the goddamn
Batman.
Yes. So, love that.
He has coined a lot of Batman's iconic lines, for better or worse.
Nice, yeah. Talking about Batman, so the reason I watched that animation and I'm looking forward to part two is because I started playing Arkham Knight. So I think Brack too has played Batman Arkham Knight and finished it. I haven't finished it, so we're not going spoilers here. So yeah, I started playing Batman Arkham Knight, and the thing is, recently, as I've said on the previous episodes of the Radiophonic Sea Creatures, I haven't been into like story-based games at all recently. Like nothing's been grabbing my attention at all, like that, like single-player story-based games. So Batman was a bit of a hard sell, or fighting against odds. But I stuck it in and started playing it, and it fucking grabbed me. Like, I'm so happy. Like, it's the first story-based game to properly, properly grab me and, make me think, I can't wait to fucking get some time to play Batman. Like, it's amazing. It's great. It's just perfect. The combat mechanics are as good as they always were, and I personally was really frightened about the addition of the Batmobile because lots of people had some problems with that particular part of the game. So I was wondering how that was going to go, but I love the Batmobile. Like, I love it. I think, one of the best things the Arkham game series did was make you feel like fucking Batman, man. I mean, it didn't just make you feel like Batman, and, with the plot and design and style, it really felt like you were on a Batman adventure, that was like fucking canon. It felt, really distinct and, very accurate to the source material and stuff. So I really loved that about the Arkham games. Not just the video game level to level, you really felt but you were on an iconic Batman adventure. I love that. And Arkham Knight has that in spades. And the Batmobile just makes you feel more like Batman, I think. When you sail down out somewhere and you get in the Batmobile and you're driving around and kicking ass and stuff. But like Human Metal was saying ages ago, also sometimes, I'm driving around and people are diving out of the way of the Batmobile. And it's obvious they dive into a wall, and my Batmobile's gone straight over those guys. And that guy's dead. Batman has literally just run over someone here and most likely killed them. But yeah, so
shit happens.
There is that. Yeah, Batman. It doesn't. It's just a traffic accident. It doesn't. It's not my fault.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not that.
Yeah.
He's only sleeping.
Yeah. What? This is a gun?
Hey, the old cartoon rule? They are not allowed to die, but you can put them in a coma, which is arguably much worse.
And if they die, if Batman locks out, he gets a guy in a coma and he dies 24 hours later, and Batman's just it's just medical science. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So how about you, Brack? I'm personally loving the game. I have no idea who the Arkham Knight is at the moment, but there have been a few twists in the game which have I've really enjoyed. I also enjoy the kind of horror element that kind of crops up because the game has made me jump out my fucking skin at least twice.
Me too. Yeah, a couple of times I just holy shit! They have some jump scares in there that you totally don't expect at all, yeah. And they work really, really well. I think this is maybe my favorite Batman game. Arkham Knight. The story is just so good.
I want to play it.
The atmosphere of the city is so good. The way Chuchu always talks about Bioshock Infinite, when he's talking about the city, that's the way I feel about the Gotham they made in Arkham Knight. It just feels so distinct. It feels so atmospheric. It feels like it's not from this world. It feels it does feel like a comic book. The way the city is built, it doesn't feel like it wouldn't fit in our universe. The only problem I have, by the way, which makes no sense in all the Batman games, though, it always plays in one night. All the Batman games.
Yeah.
But I've been playing for 20 hours. It's the longest fucking night ever. One thing I'm really impressed by is the voice acting as well. They really got some great voice actors there. They have, for example, John Noble from Fringe as the Scarecrow. And he's definitely the most interesting performance in this.
Finch and Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings and some other stuff.
A lot of us.
So good as Scarecrow. I really just love his menacing voice. It's the most menacing voice ever for any character ever. It's just amazing. And the lines he has are just so, I don't know, it works really well. And there's also one of my favorite characters from Breaking Bad, the guy playing Mike, Jonathan Banks. He's playing James Gordon, and he definitely has the most gruff voice ever. It's amazing. I love that voice.
He's so cool. I love his character so much more since I've seen the first season of Better Call Saul.
Mm-hmm.
So great, so great. So man, I'm looking forward to that game, but I have no. I'm not able to play it yet. Neither is the PC version available, and my PC wouldn't be able to run it at a good resolution anyway. And I don't have a PS4 yet, so I'm fucked.
You just have to wait and avoid spoilers on the internet.
Yeah, so far I've been able to, I think. But we'll see. We'll see how long that lasts.
What I like about the Arkham games is that this is like the most, outside of comic books, this is the most insane Batman gets. Like, they really make clear that Batman is just a kind of a deluded, crazy person in the Arkham games, which I think belongs to the character. They do that in the comics all the time, but they don't have the balls to do that in like the movies or the TV series. But in the games, they actually make sure Batman is just crazy, and he's also a huge asshole. Like, he's such a dick to Robin in this game. It's hilarious.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I almost like when Batman goes over the edge.
There have already been some amazing, like, iconic moments. So I don't think it's spoiler. I don't think you really spoil with action beats and stuff. But like the scene in the 1989 movie, like here's a good example of how far video games have come and stuff. Like, there's a scene in the 1989 Batman film where Batman has to escape Ace Chemicals, right? He drives the Batmobile in there and he drops bombs, and Ace Chemicals goes up, and they've got that iconic shot of the Batmobile like going through the gates of Ace Chemicals and stuff. And while the whole building like explodes behind it, like it's an amazing like moment that from the movie. And you know, when you were as a kid, I was like, oh man, if only the video games could recreate that moment. And of course, in Batman Arkham Knight, you fucking exactly that. The Ace Chemicals goes bang, 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 you know, up in flames and stuff, and you as a player drive the Batmobile out of Ace Chemicals while it's all exploding around you. And then fucking when you get outside, Batman kind of ejects from the Batmobile and kind of stands there iconically while the whole fucking thing falls to the ground. It's an absolutely amazing moment, like an iconic shot of Batman standing in front of that Ace Chemicals while it all falls down. Like a truly like fantastic piece, like an unforgettable like image, and totally outdoes the movie version that Tim Burton made for you. Like, video games completely outdoing the movies in every single way possible. It's like it's an amazing moment for me. I was just like, yeah, this is the moment. Like, you know, this is the moment I wanted when I was a kid, to do that shit from the movies and do it better. Goddamn, video games have come a long way. So
glad everybody is enjoying himself.
And with that, with Human Metal's blatant disappointment, we're going to move out of the shallows and into the depths. Hello and welcome back to the depths. So it's the summer. Yes, so Brack's vacation is... I'm totally picked the wrong person. Human Metal's vacation is coming soon. And my vacation is coming soon. And my vacation fucking starts the day after tomorrow. Yeah! So
yeah!
I'm totally...
Yeah!
Yeah. When's your vacation, Brack?
I already have vacation right now.
Yeah, he's a fucking student. Being a student is awesome. I cherish those days, Brack. I want to pinch your like little ruddy cheeks right now. Like never... Like that guy in Billy Madison with that fat kid, like just blah, 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 blah. Like never let the student days end, my friend. But yeah, anyway, so it's summer drought time, so we're gonna give some recommendations of things to watch or play. So we've each chosen a movie and a game, apart from Human Metal, who's like this kind of weird like Nazi radical. So he's chosen a book. Just one book, nothing else. So, yeah, we're going to tell you about these things and why they're awesome or shit, depending on what we've chosen. So, Human Metal, you can go first. Let's get the boring one out of the way first. What's your book?
It's not a necessary recommendation. I just want to talk about it because it was kind of current. And I know Bragg has at least read the first one. We hail from a site called Epic Battle Axe, and now Outlaw Gamers Radio. We were a community podcast before that.
Epic Battle Cry!
Yeah.
Oh, DK Money Shizzle, where art thou now?
Well, working. Anyway, and one of the shows, the X Factor, now the Outlaw Gamers Radio, they they hyped up a book called Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, which is like this, I don't know, this gaming and movie nerd extravaganza, which is basically about a virtual reality simulation like Second Life or something like that in the future. That is the setting for a treasure hunt for the inheritance of the super rich guy who created this virtual reality thing. And the main character is one of the hunters who wants to, basically crack the code, find the Easter egg, and get all the monies. And there's some intrigue and some. There are a lot of references to old school stuff, like old school movies that all of the people who grew up in the 80s are familiar with, like the really big stuff, the big games, the big movies. All of that is in there, and all of those references are used to advance the plot of the book, to solve the puzzles. So it's like if you've grown up in the 80s, you might get something out of this book. And I've listened to this book and the audiobook version when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. And I recently revisited it because I knew the new one was coming out by Ernest Cline called Armada. So I revisited Player One to see if I still like it. And wow, mixed bag there, guys. With all of the hype around it, maybe back in the day, I was like, man, this is going to be so cool. It sounds so amazing. And then when I actually listened to it, and I was of the same opinion as a first-time experience, and I still like parts of it, but some of it is really, really hokey.
It's fine. You ain't shit, mate. Your second book sucks.
No. Well, we're not even talking about the second one yet. But the first Ready Player One, the first one is a lot of the parts in the book were really felt, I don't know, kind of forced and really just jerking nerds off in that regard.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, that's what it felt like as well.
Jerking nerds off. There's the episode title right there.
Yeah, there you go. So I can't call out to specifics, I guess, without spoiling stuff. But
I still plan to actually read or listen to Ready Player One. I think I'm actually going to go the audiobook route, despite my dogged insistence that audiobooks suck.
What I tried also, it felt really fan surfy. Like when there's a robot in the book, for example, it's not just a robot; it's a transformer. And that's with like every single thing ever.
I mean,
if there's a sword in it, it's not going to be a sword. It's going to be Conan sword. This is going to be a lightsaber. Or if it's a pistol, it's going to be the pistol Han Solo is used in Star Wars. Like that's the way the entire book is written.
The problem is not really that it's in there. The problem is that Ernest Cline goes out of his way to describe these things to people who probably are already familiar with it. And the people who are not might not care about it. So it's like, hey, it's this thing. Do you remember this thing from your childhood? Man, that was awesome, wasn't it? And he does this for almost every one of the things he brings up. And it gets really tired after a while. Yes, I remember this. Please go on.
Speaking about that, where the fuck is the movie version of Mask? I want the movie version of Mask.
Oh, yeah. That is not in this book. I was disappointed. No mention of Mask whatsoever. Probably not, popular enough. But yeah, and also the romance part in this, and I gotta say, in Armada 2 are like, oh, so cheesy, so hokey. I hate bad romance so much, and
nerds don't know anything about romance, basically.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but this is really the cheesiest Hollywood stuff you could imagine in terms of romance.
Well, I take that back. I'm sorry. Nerds howl. Blah, blah, I can't speak because I'm drunk. Nerds know how to romance their cock with their hand.
Yeah. Thank you. Great. Anyway, it's like this really cheesy Hollywood romance that is like, oh man, I saw her and I almost lost my breath and shit like that. Those sentences are in there, and like really.
They're extremely in love the first time they meet each other's eyes.
No.
Shit like that, and it's like, oh, and he describes, and she looks so amazing and shit like that. And yeah, we get it. You're in love. We get it. But it's the way it's described, and it's. I know what he's trying to do. It's like this young teen romance at first sight, and he puts it on his head after a while.
I bet he puts it on his head. He puts it all over his head.
But is this in a way not a little? Can I put a spoiler out there?
Sure.
For Ready Player One? Isn't that kind of a bit creepy? Because I haven't read it. I've read it when it came out, and I haven't thought about it since. The girl he's falling in love with, for most of his life, he knew her, right?
Mm.
But he saw her only online and thought she was a guy, right?
Well, he wasn't sure. He was hoping that she was a girl.
But I thought they made it like that he was thinking it was a guy. Or am I wrong?
No, not really. No, he
was surprised it was a girl. That's what I remember. In my recollection, he thought that person was a guy, and later found out it was a girl.
He didn't want to. Well, in the beginning, he didn't want to get any relationship or something like that, because there was always in the back of his head there was the suspicion that maybe this could be a fat guy named Chuck. That's a line that's always repeated. Could always be a fat guy named Chuck in the basement of his mother, like his mother's house. So that's always something that is repeated over and over again. But he once they actually get to talk, he trusts her when she's saying she's a girl. So,
but he was surprised. Let's see, because in this universe, online friendships are stronger or as strong as real life friendships.
Yes.
So, for example, think about it for your own life. If there's one person you thought was a guy for years that you know him, and then you find out it's not a guy, it's a girl, and then you fall in love with her. Isn't that kind of weird?
Well, like I said...
It's like in your mind space, you know that person for years as a guy, and then you figure out it's a girl. That's kind of weird in a way. I also think the book was weirdly sexist in a way, because at first he mentions also that she was being a guy online, or like making her sexuality ambiguous. Because if she...
No, it's not even... No, it's not.
I don't think so.
She is obviously... Her avatar is a girl. He's just saying he can't be sure that she is really a girl because you only see the avatar and the voice is changed and everything. So just from the avatar, he can't be sure that she is a girl. But the way she portrays herself online, it's clear that her avatar and she is a girl. It's just he can't be sure.
But I also found it, the way it was written... She felt really in the end of it as like a prize he won for saving the world. Yeah. Or is that just me? The way it's written in the end.
You save the world, you gotta get some pussy. I'm just laying it out there. Every one of those Ghostbusters who saved like the planet from whatever they saved it from, each one of those got pussy. Like I'm telling you. Like Ethan Hunt, when he goes home, he gets pussy.
Okay, right. That's true. And also...
It is.
And also, no, Breck, you're right. That's one of the problems I had with this book. It's like at the end, well, not only does she, this is heavy spoiler territory. Not only does she turn out to be like a beautiful girl, but also like at the end she's basically waiting for him on the balcony. Well, you did it, and you saved the world, and now we can start our life together. It's like this. It's really cheesy. You know, like one of those old movies, because maybe that's what he wanted to do in terms of theme. Hey, it's like one of those classic Hollywood movies, and that's the end this book needs, because that's what it's all about and shit like that. And if you like that, I guess, sure, why not?
Suddenly that makes me appreciate Fight Club a lot more. You met me at a very strange time in my life.
Yeah, maybe. But what I had mostly problems with was just, him being the badass all the time. It's pure power fantasy. Like, the book is pure pure power fantasy. It's like, you want to be that guy, don't you, man? He's so amazing. He's just a normal dude, but in the game, he's the best at everything. And he totally is. Like, all the time.
They didn't even give him a single flaw at all.
Well, he ain't that good if he's not tapping ass, which he obviously isn't until the end of the book. He's not that good.
Well,
he can't touch the choo-choo baby. He can beat me in Rocket League, but he can't touch that.
And, well, that's not how it's portrayed. He's really like, he might have some flaws, but they're not, characterized as important in this book. So it's just, if you've ever seen the anime Sword Art Online, you know what I'm talking about. It's just the same thing. And I really don't like that.
He's like the biggest, in his real life, he's just a spark, but in the online world, that's extremely important in this universe. The online world is way more important in this universe than in the online world, he's the biggest, baddest motherfucker you can be. Like, he kicks all the ass, he takes all the names.
He gets the super smarts because he knows everything, even though at some point he has problems figuring stuff out, so he needs to rely on his friends, so that makes him a bit relatable. But every other time, he totally he's the best at everything. And that's so...
Don't you wish that your stupid knowledge of 80s pop culture could help you save the world?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, you have invested so much time in this stuff, and if you would be that guy, it would pay off. Don't you wish you would live in that world? It's just it feels like the guy is writing this for himself sometimes. Like, oh man, I wish I could be that guy. And I mean, that's okay, but don't make this book out into more than it is. It's just it's fun most of the time. Fantasy.
It's fun power fantasy with a lot of fan service in there. But maybe it's that this is really my fault. I think because I heard so many people talk about how great it is, like it's high art almost. Like
exactly.
And when I read it, it's like this is the same as like reading like I don't know like Dragon Ball Z. Like, it's on the same level as Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. I would say it's so. It's maybe a bit better dialogue in some parts, but yeah, basically in terms of the way the story progresses, this feels a bit Dragon Ball Z-ish. Or like I said, Sword Art Online. It's very Sword Art Online. It feels like a Japanese light novel in that regard. And it's written by the same guy who did this. That's what it feels like. Also, what you said earlier about the guy pretending to be a guy and, then turning out to be a girl. Super spoilers. I'm sorry, Choo-Choo, but you probably don't care.
No, I'm going to listen to that, but I don't care anyway.
That's a completely other character and in the book. But that happens.
You're right. Yeah,
and that is a good twist. That is, and I gave it away just now, so I'm sorry, guys. And that's an interesting thing. And the way they resolve that possible conflict in there, from spending a lot of time with that person, and then that person, turns out to be different than you expected, was really neat. So that was a good part about this book, and also the way they portrayed this virtual world and how it's built and how it's set up and the background of it. That was also really good. Like, the world building in this book is cool. It's just what they do in this world and the characters in there are, and the way they conclude the story is a bit hokey. So I'm saying I enjoyed it a lot. Just, temper your enthusiasm a bit, guys. Don't expect this to be anything than, I don't know,
That's
what we already mentioned.
When I read it, I enjoyed it, but this is all on me. When I heard people talk about it, they talked about it like it was Philip K. Dick. About action is Dragon Ball Z. And you can't compare Philip K. Dick with Dragon Ball Z. Let's be honest there.
Yeah.
Nope. Really. The thing is, like, I have a problem with listening to, like, Ernest Cline and stuff because, frankly, I spend my time reading, like, James Joyce and fucking Vladimir Nabokov and Proust and stuff like that. Like, that's my bag. Like, I love the 18th, like, early 19th century like European authors and stuff. That's really my bag. So I find like modern authors are too primitive in their language and stuff that they use. So I'm not sure. Like Ernest, I think when you read something like Vladimir Nabokov or James Joyce or something, it's like the full steak dinner. When you read like Ernest Cline or something, it's like eating a bag of potato chips. But I guess you got to temper your expectations for that. You know what I mean?
I don't mind I don't even know what that kind of literature is called. Like
classic literature, human metal.
Classic literature. Not what you were talking about. The one Ernest Cline belongs to, like popular literature, like.
But I wouldn't call it literature.
Casual.
Yeah, like toilet paper. No, I'm joking.
Very nice.
I'm totally joking. No, it's what? It's light novels, right? Novels.
No,
Yeah.
novels. Okay, just novels. Like what Stephen King is also writing and stuff like that. Although I wouldn't compare those two.
No, but I think Stephen King, in some of his books, rises above that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, I
I
really
don't
enjoyed
think this guy does.
It always depends on the way people write, and I think Ernest Cline, just separate from the subject matter, is a capable writer. Like I like the way he writes. It's just the way the story he creates is a bit off in some parts. And
I think he's a good writer.
Yeah.
But he writes a lot of detail about stuff that I really don't give a shit about. Like the 80s nostalgia stuff doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah, I get it. That's another big caveat. If you didn't grow up in that time, and me and Choo Choo did, so we might get more out of this. But when you didn't grow up in that, there might be nothing in this book for you, like not at all, because he spent so much time describing and wallowing in this nostalgia for that time of his life and for our life respectively. That if you didn't grow up in that time, you might not. It's even more of a standard story. It's for you. I don't know. I mean, now I have heard Breck's position, and it makes total sense. And I think that's the case for a lot of people who didn't grow up in that time. I wonder. I'm still looking forward to the movie adaptation because Steven Spielberg is directing it. It might be interesting, and I wonder how much. Stuff is being cut out of the book for that, and what he decides to cut out, because there needs to be cut out a lot. So
also with the licenses, probably it's going to be really difficult.
I think
that too. Oh yeah.
I think personally, I think they'll get the licenses, most of it, not all of it, of course, but I think they'll get a lot of the licenses sorted out because I don't know a lot about Ready Player One, having not seen it, because as I say, I'm from a classic literature standpoint, so. I don't know. Like I say, it's like eating potato chips after you've had the steak, baby. So, but there's always time for potato chips.
One wouldn't assume you are into classic literature the way you talk and choose your topics.
One would assume that you have a hard time reading like the back of the newspaper.
Hey, baby, you come back when you've read Ardor or War and Peace. And then we'll talk literature, okay?
I never will.
That's how the choo-choo rolls, baby.
And like between is like making the puzzle at the back of a cereal box,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
failing hard at like the puzzles.
Unfortunately, the choo-choo grew up in like basically British aristocracy almost. So you don't know about the choo-choo, but I grew up in a fucking Georgian mansion, man. That's how the choo-choo grew up. So
you told us.
I grew up with parents who actually made me read James Joyce and Charles Dickens and fucking Ernest Hemingway and Fitzgerald.
My suspicion is even back then you were already shit drunk and you only think you understood those books, but you really didn't.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that the Choo-Choo's two favorite books on planet Earth is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov.
I'm not surprised about the second one.
Go out and read them, man. The Lolita is hilarious. It's insanely funny. Yeah, it's amazing. But anyway, hey, let's not get into classic literature because that's definitely.
We're already. My segment is already way too long again. I'm sorry.
It is way too long. Human Metal.
Just let me.
Don't you even start, Amanda. Don't you even think about it.
I'm sorry.
Two sentences and you're dead.
Just a quick sentence. Amarda, I'm not through the book yet, so I'm not gonna talk about it at length. It's just basic setup is. This one dude, again, basically his video game comes to life as aliens attack Earth and he is drafted into, fighting them with drones and everything. So that setup sounds a bit like Last Starfighter, if someone remembers that movie. But they put a few neat twists on it, and I don't know where it's going yet.
I'm pretty sure he remembers that movie because
probably
the 80s, right?
Yeah, and the nostalgia wallowing is not as obsessive as it was in Ready Player One, so that's a bit better too. And there's some more interesting personal angles in there. So I wonder, it might go into an interesting direction. I'm not done with it yet, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to listening to the rest, and I'll report once I'm done with that and give you my impressions.
Did you ever see The Last Starfighter, Bragg?
No.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. Fucking guy plays this arcade machine and he keeps getting the highest score in this video games, and then aliens come down and basically kidnap him. Because, the arcade machine is actually a training device for real starfighters. It's amazing!
Yeah.
I recommend checking that out.
The basic setup for Armada is basically the same thing.
Talking about the 80s, I'm going to talk about this movie, The Guest. And The Guest, I don't think any of you have heard about it. It's about
I've heard about The Guest. He's living in my upstairs, second bedroom. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I think you should look out if it's the same guy from this movie. Just saying. You should look out. No, The Guest is about the soldier. He introduces himself to a family, and he's claiming to be the friend of their son who died in the war. And the guy, he's welcomed into the home. He befriends the family, but there's a dark secret. There's a dark past, and the dark past. It's a small spoiler. They spoiled it in the trailer, so I'm going to spoil it again. He's evil, Jason Bourne. That's the spoiler of The Guest. They introduce it. They say it in the trailer, so I can spoil it. And this movie is so much fun. This movie is kind of drenched in the same 80s neon style as Drive was, with the same style of music, the same kind of visual 80s feel to it, but very slick. Not like those 80s movies that are not as slick. Drive is really very slick with its visual style, and this movie is as well. But the movie is just really so much fun. It's insane how much fun this movie is. It feels a lot like some 80s movies. It takes a lot of inspiration from The Stepfather, and also some from the Terminator, especially with the main character being when he in the beginning, first half of the movie, where he's kind of a protector to the family, where he helps them out. He helps out the son who gets bullied at school by totally fucking up and beating up all the bullies, which is hilarious the way he does it. It's oh my god. He just breaks all their legs and stuff like that. It's just really messed up in a really fun action sequence.
Yeah. And
in the last half of the movie, it just goes on into a straight up action movie, and it's just hilarious, and it's so over the top. But this feels like a bit of a fantasy world. These characters, they wouldn't work in real life. They're kind of archetypes, but that works to make the movie more streamlined. The main character, the evil Jason Bourne character, is played by Dan Stevens, who before this I've never heard of it, but I think he was in Downton Abbey, and where he plays some kind of fancy British boy who probably reads lots of literature. Not in this movie though. In this movie he is so good. He's very intense. He's very, very much like Ryan Gosling in Drive, where he is he doesn't say that much. He doesn't show that many emotions. He's very polite all the time, but you can see when he looks you can see in his eyes there's some darkness there.
Some violence, yeah.
And the movie is just a lot of fun. I don't think any of you have seen it, maybe?
No, not yet, but it sounds interesting.
It's great. And the soundtrack as well, just as Drive, whenever I hear one of those songs, it immediately takes me back to the scene in the movie. And yeah, there's not that much to talk about, because not much of a discussion here because you guys haven't seen it, but I can totally 100% recommend you guys to see it.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. There's nothing fun. There's nothing more fun than seeing bullies get their chips. Did anybody see Drillbit Taylor? So yeah, Drillbit Taylor was a bit of a shitty movie, frankly. Oh my god, what the fuck is that? God, I hate Japan and its huge insects. This huge fucking insect just flew by me, and I have no idea what it was, but I don't want to find out. But anyway, getting back to Drillbit Taylor. Drillbit Taylor was a shitty movie starring Owen Wilson as a homeless guy who is possibly ex-army in the film, and then he kind of gets hired by these school kids to protect them from bullies, and he's completely inept and useless at his job. Basically, he decides to train these kids. He says, I can train you in combat. And he trains them into combat, and all this training is bullshit, and the kids just keep failing at taking these bullies down and stuff like that. But it's hilarious. But in the final scene, Drillbit Taylor like ends up accidentally kind of confronting these bullies in this party, and the bullies are like savagely beating him. And the kids are like saying to him, you know, seeing their kind of their hero, what's become their kind of like their surrogate father figure, get beaten down, and they're like, "Come on, do something, fight back, you got to do something." And Drillbit Taylor eventually tells them, like, "You don't understand. These guys, like, they're underage, they're not 18. I can't do shit. I will go to jail." And then one of them's like, "No, they're 18. His birthday was like last week." He was like, "He's 18?" And then he immediately gets up and like absolutely beats the shit out of him. It's just like one of the most satisfying scenes ever. Just fucking decimates the guy. Oh, it's hilarious. So
Wow.
I recommend Drillbit Taylor for that one single scene. The rest of the movie is shit. That one scene where he beats that fucking teenage bully to a pulp is hilarious. So I guess I'm going to talk about my movie. So just to let everybody know, at the beginning of the beginning of the depths, I said we were going to talk about 2 items, a video game and a podcast, but unfortunately that's not going to happen due to time constraints.
A video game and a podcast? Not a video game and a movie?
I'm drunk. So what Brax said, yeah, so Human Metal and Brax spent so long on their conversation about Ready Player One, which was a very nice conversation, definitely. And for all you people who love Ready Player One, I'm sure that was awesome for you. But basically that has limited our time. So, so we're going to do one item each. So we need to choose between our video game and our movie. So I'm going to go for my movie. Sorry, guys, because I have actually something I want to say about the movie this week. So the movie I'm going to choose that I highly recommend is Hudson Hawk. So
Yay!
Hudson Hawk is a movie from the 90s. So
what the fuck? I've never heard of that.
It's horrible.
Oh, it got critically panned. I'm telling you, it got critically panned. So it has a 17 on Metacritic. And it has like 24 on Rotten Tomatoes. It got fucking panned like to the life, and actually shut down the studio that made it, which was TriStar Pictures. It was actually quite a major movie studio in the 80s. So, I mean, it has this really bad reputation, but I seriously think that's a movie that Time got wrong. Like, the critics didn't understand it or jumped on the bandwagon of negativity and panned it, but that's a guilty pleasure of mine, man. I fucking love that film. I fucking love it. And I'm going to lay out the reasons why I love it right now. So judge, jury, and executioner, stand by. So I'm going to lay out why Hudson Hawk is criminally underrated and an amazing movie. So firstly, obviously, well, not obviously, because they mismarketed it wrong. They mismarketed it as this like Die Hard-esque type action movie when that's not what it is at all. It's a surreal comedy. It's basically like Big Trouble in Little China, like in the 90s. The 90s version of Big Trouble in Little China, for me personally. I mean, it's so surreal and hilarious. And every character in that movie is a fucking nincompoop of the First Order. It's like a bunch of idiots running around on a spy adventure. It's like crazy. Like the world's greatest cat burglar is Hudson Hawk, the main character played by Bruce Willis, is a fucking idiot. Like a fucking idiot, a moron. So here we go. But here is why Hudson Hawk is a must-see. A must-see because it's absolutely stark-raving hilarious. It has a surrealist humor that has to be seen to be believed. You've got David Caruso as a mimic in the film. Like you have these CIA operatives that are all named after candy bars. You got Snickers, Kit Kat, Butterfingers, like Kit Kat, who's played by David Caruso, is a mimic who mimics what other characters are doing at all times. So sometimes he's dressing up in exactly the same clothes as the woman character, played by Andie MacDowell, who should never be cast as anyone in anything, by the way. It's hard to explain, but his mimicking of the main hero, when the main hero gets off on like a tirade or something, he's shouting at the bad guys, and there's David Caruso standing behind him, dressed exactly the same way, doing exactly the same hand motions as him. It's hilarious. So that's one of the things. You got, damn, who plays the fucking, not the bad guy, who plays the bad guy's main minion?
The CIA boss?
James Coburn. James Coburn, that's it. You got James Coburn, who's an old guy, the second before he dies in a fiery explosion, shouting, "My pension!"
He also is a badass kung fu fighter in this movie for some reason.
Yeah, it's amazing. But until the point where he gets tired. So he does that hilarious thing. He does those multiple spin kicks that does in the 2x4, and then like stops and he's like, and then Bruce Willis like, you getting old, George? And then smacks him in the face. And it has some of the best ever bad guys ever in movie history. You have Darwin and Minerva, who's played by Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhardt, who I'll get onto in a minute. And you have that I don't know who he's played by, but the butler guy with the knives that spring out of his like sleeves, like fucking Assassin's Creed, who's like the main physical menace in the film. Like absolutely amazing, straight out of James Bond. Like totally amazing guy. But a couple of things to focus upon. Okay, I'm going to focus upon the bad guys because the bad guys in Hudson Hawk were some of the best bad guys ever. So better to explain to you how good they were than explain the events of the movie than to actually give you some quotes that the bad guys give in the movie. So here you go. Here's 3 quotes from Darwin, like who's played by Richard E. Grant in the film. So if this doesn't convince you to watch the film, like literally nothing will. Okay, here we go. Quote number 1. If Leonardo da Vinci was alive today, he'd be naked in the back of a Cadillac eating microwave sushi with the both of us. That's a good quote. Another quote from him. History, tradition, culture. These are not concepts. These are trophies I keep in my den as paperweights.
So bad.
It's amazing. It's so cheesy. And the last one. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm just an ordinary Joe, just like you. I chase happiness through the achievement of goals. It's just, when you've made your first billion by the age of 19, motivation is hard to come by. But now I have a new goal. A great goal. World domination!
Yep.
That's
Darwin in a nutshell.
Yeah, basically.
Because I gotta leave, I just want to give my 2 cents about Hudson Hawk. Because I also love this movie and have been scolded for that by many people. But it's so goofy. It's a fantastic. I think it was a passion project of Bruce Willis. He really wanted to make this movie and put a lot of his own money into it. And if this is a sense of humor, he has a weird sense of humor. But in this movie, I don't know, it works for me. It's super, like you said, super surreal. A lot of the stuff just doesn't match together. It feels completely non sequitur and random. But I like it. It's funny. And maybe even more so, of course, I experienced it in the German dub first. And they even added to some of the jokes and put some funny puns in there, and which one I liked. So maybe that when I saw that as a kid, that appealed to me more, and now the movie has just grown on me and is just stayed with me for all this time. And yeah, I will defend Hudson Hawk. I know it's a dumb movie, but it's very entertaining to me, and it's one of those movies. If it's on TV, I will watch it. I will watch it over and over again because I think it's so dumb and funny and makes no sense in a lot of scenes. And I don't know. And Bruce Willis is charming in it. His character is super weird and dumb. The way he and his fat friend go and rob something. Yeah. They can't memorize for some reason. Apparently they can't afford wristwatches to check. We got a time limit of 8 minutes. What can we do? Well, we can't afford watches, so we just memorize song lengths and just start singing songs while robbing the place. And when we're done with the song, we need to get out of there. That's so dumb. It's so stupid, but it's hilarious.
It's really funny.
Yeah. I like it. It's one of those movies you don't know how it happened, how it came about, and how this is possible that this existed, but I'm glad it does, and with this I'm out. And please, people, if you for some reason haven't seen this movie yet, and if you can put up with a lot of dumb stuff, try to check it out. It's a hidden treasure.
Yeah, I think I will watch it. I can put up with a lot of dumb stuff. I'm talking to you too, so that I think
obviously.
Proves it.
But hey, with that, we've come to the end of this week's Visit to the Ocean Floor. So please join us next time you open a can of tuna, only to find it stuffed with pubic hair and an extracted tooth. Until then, this is the Radiophonic Sea Creatures. Tuning out. hate that. You can see the hatred in their eyes. You can see that chimpanzees, when you look in their eyes, they don't like humans and they wish we were all dead. That's why I can't watch Planet of the Apes. It scares the shit out of me.